Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial cast. We've still got music underneath because I forgot to lower it down. But hello everybody, welcome to bootleg casting, when one person tries to do another person's job while being a host. And anyway, LJL, we're in playoffs, round 2, match 2, 2-0 Crest Gaming Act versus V3, who are yet to pick up a game. Their hot streak has been destroyed and now buried even further. I am your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi by Marcel on the internet. I am, of course, joined by the sharp and witty duo, which is Initialize and Nymera, the Hapgood brothers. Yep. As I say always, introduce yourselves.
Take this bit of wit, because the only thing that appears to be hot on V3 right now is the dumpster fire that appears to be some of their mid-game team fighting. Because Archer got put in the dumpster that game. He looked a little bit sad in that bot lane, and so many of the things that nearly worked out really didn't.
Yeah, okay.
It was a little bit harsh, but for the memes, we'll be there.
We love the guys on V3. They're a very entertaining team to watch, but nothing is firing off right for them. It kind of looks like Reyna is stuck in a bit of elo hell right now. He's the only person who's managing to find ways into the game. Archer and Reyna managed to win the lane in game 2, but didn't really translate it into any of the team fighting. Ace on the Jace has looked a little bit blunted alongside Boogie, even on his Echo. And then, of course, Paz in the top lane just hasn't managed to, again, find the openings into this game.
We are already going in to pick and ban phase, so continue on that train of thought, Nymera.
Sure. Well, I mean, you can stick around for the draft if you would like, Lexi, because obviously we haven't had you for that long.
Yeah.
But okay.
He's left us. He's gone to the world of production. Alas, we're back into this draft, and thank you again, Mass1, for all the work you're doing right now. And we have, in fact, got V3 once again on blue side, CJ once again on red side, and we've got some very familiar bands coming through, but the Jarvan this time is taken away by V3. Yoshi did look very good on that game.
He did. So game 1, we did see an Ornn come through from V3. It wasn't there in game 2. Set is banned away by CJ. Set has been a very first pickable champion. Actually, V3 deciding to lock in the Aphelios once more. I would imagine there's going to be a first round Varus locked in by CJ again. I think that it is such a powerful flex pick, and Aria was just crapping out damage on that Varus.
And I think the fact that it's such a good flex pick at the minute, we saw it look very good in the series with Rascal Jesters. We saw it look a massive win condition versus DFM. We've seen it look really good today. Sejuani has slipped through. Yoshi has done so. Even when he was looking a little bit risky or a little bit less consistent, there we go, that's the way to phrase it. Yoshi on Sejuani was one of the ways he managed to find a way back into relevancy in the split, and he's back on that champion right now, as what a surprise, this very powerful Varus back on the table for CGA, as Boogie insta-locks a Rek'Sai, not a Renekton.
Renekton jungle will be a little bit off meta. So this is a lot more early pressure from Boogie this time. Sometimes Echo can't find the way into the early game because you do end up having to farm through the early stages of the game and make sure you are somewhat ahead of the curve and have a bit more damage. Okay, so Aria wants to lock in the Silas immediately. This guy is terrifying on this pick. What this does mean is we immediately know this will be a Varus bot lane. We know that the Sejuani is in the jungle, so no flex from the Silas between mid and that position. So Gango will be picking up the Varus this time, which we assumed he would last game, but then of course they flexed it through the mid lane. Second round bans coming through though. Also worth mentioning, the Nautilus locked in for Reyna, not the Thresh this time.
And there's already a couple of good ultimates for this Silas to steal. Depth Charge in particular is so powerful, as is a Void Rush with that execute, and you just get all that AP that Silas loves to build on top of it. Braum, Tahm Kench taken away from Grendel, 2 of those safer picks. I kind of like that, actually, as V3's shift in this draft phase.
Yeah, and if you pick something like a Morgana, you can kind of be torn apart by a Rek'Sai as well. You know, you can, if you do not pick up a tankier champion, can have bit of a weaker early game, which is why the Thresh is locked in. That's kind of the remainder of the tankier supports.
Grendel has looked good on that recently as well.
This is one of his better champions. Even when Grendel was having his mid-split troubles, I believe that his Thresh was his best champion. Happy to see that come back out. It leaves counterpick for top lane.
Yeah, and Paz looking to go towards his Aatrox. He
Aatrox,
has found some
Raid boss
fantastic
standards.
team fights in this. When V3 went in the complete slugfest, bloodbath that was their last match versus DFM, it was Paz on the Aatrox that did unspeakable things as Ace will lock in his Syndra.
That's good. I like that.
Thank you. He is so damn good at that champion. Nice to see him back on something that can do a little bit more for him in that mid lane.
So Ace went something like 7-0 and 2 in the first game of round 1 versus Axes. This guy knows how to put out the damage and get the kills on the Syndra. It's going to be a gangplank for the first time in actually quite a long time in the LJL.
We've been wondering where it had gone.
Yeah, we had we had a couple of off broadcast talks and thinking, well, where's gangplank gone? So it's been picked into the Aatrox here. Not necessarily the easiest matchup for the gangplank. Can end up winning it, particularly if the early lane is tilted by some jungle pressure, but Aatrox Rek'Sai can definitely make Gangplank very accountable in the early game.
And I'm a fan of Sylas' ults that he can steal. Syndra probably being the weakest one, actually, because of course he doesn't get the Dark Spheres. I can see why, actually, that's probably why Syndra's not an awful matchup into Sylas, assuming you can avoid your Abscond Abduct.
Sure, but yeah, so Sylas can, in the early levels, dash past the Dark Sphere with your Abscond Abduct and then, you know, kind of go forward for hard trades.
Yeah. Abduct someone's health bar.
Yeah, but you don't want to trade too early. Sylas is not the best early game champion now as he was before when he had, you know, slightly... The passive being slightly different in the last iteration of Sylas.
Yes, all those empowered autos, not really where his strength lies anymore. It's very much in that ridiculous... I think it's like a 90% AP scaling.
I think it's a 1 AP ratio.
Is it a 0.1? Is it a 1.0 AP ratio now on that second part of the E? Is where a lot of his power lies now. It's not in the Kingslayer so much anymore.
So... this is do or die for V3.
Yes.
Boogie picked up a win on the Rek'Sai against Axis, and I believe it was game 3 of their final game versus them in round 1. Paz, we saw in their final week of the regular season, reached raid boss status on this pick. If you watch their game versus Dead Nation Focus Me in the last couple of weeks as well, you will see that. I think he went like 13-5 and something crazy. It was a very big game from him. And Ace, arguably his best pick in the Syndra as well up in the mid lane. Actually, both mid laners arguably on their best picks.
Yeah, and Boogie has gone back to a much more reliable pick, we'll say, in the Rek'Sai. You have got so much early pressure. You're not reliant on parallel convergences being really well done. You're not reliant on hitting difficult to land skill shots like spears. This is just Boogie going, all right, we need some AD threat. We need me to have early pressure. He's gone towards the Rek'Sai. He's done dangerous things before on this champion, and he's going to look to try and do it again right now. I'm looking at Ace. I'm looking at Archer to step up and have some more consistent performance. I'm looking at Paz on this Aatrox if V3 want a chance. But CGA are looking to put this pajama cast to bed, much like we will be doing pretty shortly after this one, if it is going to be a very swift 3-0, if that could be the thing.
3-0 to CJ would be absolutely against all of our predictions.
Massively true.
You know, back in the podcast, I did predict CJ maybe to coin flip this game into their victory. Obviously,
this hasn't been a coin flip. This has been a
This has not been a coin flip at
down.
all. Yeah, this has been not really in question at all. The games have very quickly gone the way of CJ after some close early and some mid games. There's no level 1 shenanigans this time. For the first time, we'll see whether the junglers can do anything with the unmolested jungle stars.
Yeah, and we kind of knew back from week 1 and 2 that CGA kind of had it in them to be one of these teams where Arya and Gango do mad things on their champions, while Grandel looks to proactively playmake. Nap and Yoshi play that front line really well, and we just needed those rookies to step up. And we knew there were hints of that, and thus far in this series, Grendel and Yoshi have looked really stellar, and Gango and Arya have not put the carry pants on, they put the whole damn suit, and have been looking really, really good thus far.
This is like in the Fallout series when you kind of get into the power armor and just like they're just suit. It's like, I'm going to put on one pauldron, then the other one. It's like, this is the full like battle suit of carry armor. We obviously did see whispers of these rookies on, some of these players on CGA, the players that we had question marks around, doing well in the tiebreaker match against Burning
We did.
It was an ensemble performance instead of just the Arya and Gango show. Yoshi had a great Jarvan game in that game. We saw it again in game 2. It was so good, they banned it away from him. This Sejuani was banned away in game 1 as well. So this is a pick which obviously V3 have identified as something that they don't necessarily want to deal with. Grendel picking up the Thresh has had some notable games on that as well. Nap going back towards the Gangplank. It's something which he hasn't played for a little while, like we were saying. But if left alone in an even map state, even advantage kind of in lane.
Be careful though. This Rek'Sai is
the wave's pushing in.
On the way. Yeah, the wave is pushing in, but for now, Nap is in a potentially kind of tricky spot. Grasp Gangplank has not put down a ward. He's going to walk towards it. Oh, Nap buddy has to flash out. That's a nice early gank. Nice scatter the weak response from Ace there to stop the continued dash from the E there from Mario. He's at about half HP right now. The range advantage definitely being abused by Ace right now.
Yeah, it was a great scatter of the week to interrupt the Upstun. Updog did actually hit that skill shot, but was interrupted mid-dash and therefore wasn't in range to proc the Kingslayer to make that into a more even trade as well.
Oh gosh, it caught me there, and a bit of a yawn. It is still been a very long early morning for me and the rest of the cast, but for now, gold lead pretty much straight even.
I mean, it's like 4 minutes in, gold lead's a little bit.
Exactly, we're not seeing too much in the way of early laning advantages outside of a fairly decent one for Ace in the mid lane.
Yeah, but also Yoshi's managed to do a full jungle clear on this Sejuani as well. Managed to get that early game off to a decent start. Often when we talk about Sejuani, we say that she does, she kind of comes ahead. She comes out ahead if she survives. You know, if she's not really abused in the early game. Also, it's the new Rek'Sai skin, by the way.
It is. Yeah, it's a Freljord one, but it's versus, of course, Sejuani and Freljord Sylas. So there's potentially a stylistic story narrative matchup you can make out of this if you wanted to.
I think we've got more than enough storylines on the field as well. V3 versus CGA was the semi-final matchup of last year's summer playoffs. That was a 3-2 to V3. And that was when Ace and Paz were still on the lineup to V3, and they're kind of having it taken back to them in what could be seen as an organizational revenge match for CGA, even though it's a largely new roster.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and we'll have to see how the game continues, whether they can continue with these things, whether these rookies can continue to perform, or whether actually at match point, the pressure is there. This is often that point where things can go wrong. We see reverse sweeps more often than you would think, because actually this is where nerves and mentality can be tested more than you think. And it is a test for both these teams. V3 backs against the wall. Do they pull it out? CGA on the cusp of greatness.
Sejuani said this could be dangerous.
Here. Reyna's potentially in trouble. He's got the dredge line. The Hail of Arrow wasn't used. He does dredge line to the wall. Is fine. Permafrost is stacking, but doesn't go anywhere near a stun right now.
Yeah, so the dredge line, it does connect, isn't interrupted by the Arctic Assault. It does end up buffering that correctly and not interrupted by the Sejuani. So a little bit of time wasted for the Sejuani, but not nearly enough.
Boogie's hanging around mid.
Yeah, Boogie's hanging around mid, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to find anything with Arya's positioning at that point.
Yeah, and Aatrox also up to a very good lead up against that GP right now, who's been shoved in. But then we've kind of talked about this before. Aatrox gets a fairly decent matchup into the Gangplank, being a pseudo rage champion with the Darkin Blade, allowing to hit Gangplank way beyond the minions.
And then the flash.
Yoshi's back.
Yeah, he is back. No ultimate available yet, but if there's CC from the Thresh, might be able to chain that in.
Boogie's here too. It is potentially a 3v3. Yoshi is looking to back. Boogie's turning up behind this. There is counter gank on counter gank available. Grendel's walking forwards. Boogie's
hook
hit.
Misses.
It's a 3v3. The hook misses and Boogie backs away. Action averted.
I was wondering if the Infernum Q landed and then the grabs him down. Level 6 available for Sylas.
He could steal something pretty powerful here. There's a
depth
charge he could take.
He's been seen on the Tremor Sense.
Oh, he's just going to turn around and walk away. He'd got the shove in the mid lane and used it to wand down, but nothing to be gained right now, apart from potentially an early Ocean Drake start if they wanted to think about it. Ward in the back of the dragon, they would probably make that a bit of a risk.
There is the Cannon Barrage available now as well from the Gangplank. Always something to be available with these global ultimates, with the slow, the damage, and the good base values.
Yoshi's got to
be
careful.
Been seen
he's going to get stunned. He's knocked up. I think he's going to go down first, but he did smite, but it wasn't enough HP. Cleanse from Ace, but now he's in trouble. Has not got the unleash power. Arya's here. Here comes the teleport. That Gangplank Cannon Barrage is here as well. Paz has got the world at it. He's going to try and get onto Grendel. Can't quite get the kill, but the Infernal Chains is there. And with a flash, he claims a second kill for V3. Such a good early start for them, and exactly what they needed to reset their mentality.
It is. Ace gets off to a good start. 2 assists on the Syndra. Get a killer piece for the top side members of V3 as well. It's going to be a dragon. At least Nap gets the consolation prize of a wave and a turret played in the top lane, but it is very much advantage over to V3 with a very different style of draft in this game 3.
Yeah, and just as we've been praising them, it is the 2 rookies for CGA that go down there of some nice vision play, and we'll know that Ace and Boogie are completely off vision as Yoshi goes to clean this ward out.
Yeah, he kind of doesn't do his homework a little bit here. He's just playing around the vision, but obviously not knowing where Ace was after he disappears from the mid lane. No Dark Passage available in time from Grendel, and then Grendel, of course, gets himself caught by Reyna. The Cannon Barrage does manage to dissuade a lot of V3's team, but the teleport comes in at a very timely fashion from Paz to pick up the next kill onto the Thresh.
He does indeed, and Cannon Barrage wasn't enough to dissuade that. Well played by Paz to find his way onto a second kill there, and it's a nice early lead for now.
It is for now, and just a reminder, this is match point for CGA. This is something where V3 are expected to try and
going
make a
on.
difference
Yoshi's taken a big chunk, throws the Glacial Prison up, but is rooted in place.
Ooh.
Did have to flash out, and that,
But that
means
means
this Rift
Herald.
Herald is probably going to go the way of V3, who are leveraging their early advantages to get on top of all these early objectives right now.
They are, and
Another Abscond Abduct onto Ace, who's got the depth charge. Ace has got has got his flash, hasn't had to use it. I thought he was in trouble there. Teleport's
Teleport.
coming in. They want to try and contest with this Herald. I think they're going to be too late, but will they find a fight afterwards? Archer
down.
has got his Moonlight Vigil, has got Crescendo.
Oh, the hook!
He's got Severum. The hook is there. Nap's now in trouble, flashing away, but he's on terrifyingly low HP. But Archer as
Watch
well
Arya, watch
also
Arya.
takes a lot of damage. Arya doesn't get a lot done there. And for now, V3, not for now. In fact, just come away with the Rift Herald. No deaths to either side.
No deaths at this point, but the Herald goes the way of V3. A slightly more cagey affair than the earlier Dragon fight, but this will mean still an advantage to the side of V3, at least for now.
Yes, indeed. And we saw kind of what Arya was looking to do. Just a bit shy in terms of AP right now, but got onto Ace with all of the CC that Silas can leverage with a depth charge.
Yeah, and it did just chunk him out, so that fight didn't go. It meant that Ace couldn't position as aggressively, still went forward and used the unleashed power to get a good chunk later into that fight. Of course, no kills were secured, as we were saying. But, you know, you can see what Arya can do in this matchup. If he does get on top of the Syndra, she doesn't necessarily build all the defensive stats which can help her survive. Needs to really go towards that second item, kind of Banshee's Veil at that point, and that's there's a long way off at this point, not even with the first item completed.
Boogie is back around this mid lane, not finding so much right now, and I want to just point out the V3 running double cleanse on their carries, and rightly so. There is a lot to be afraid of in terms of CC. Glacial Prisons, all the things that Arya can steal away as Boogie looks to get on their Death Sentence, Chains of Corruption, Flays. All of these things are pretty terrifying forms of CC you want to avoid, like the plague. Maybe I shouldn't be using that phrasing with current world conditions, but there we go.
One thing which I'm quite impressed with is that Arya has managed to accrue himself a CS lead. This is a somewhat Syndra tilted matchup in the early game at least, but with all of the skirmishing and map moves around, Arya has managed to eke out somewhat of an advantage in this match.
Turned it around, in fact, because there was an early CS lead for Ace, but after a couple roams and that last fight...
It's not much, but even being 5 CS in the lead is still something of note for the Silas when you normally expect him to be a little bit further down.
Yeah, that's well played by Arya to turn that around, and he's looking pretty strong right now with a Proto Belt available as V3, Boogie, and Ace hanging over this wall. Nap has to be so careful. I don't think he can even step back up. He's thinking about it, but he would be in a very dangerous space. There is a Herald play, I think, to be found. Nap's going to try and clear out as much of the wave as he can just to force things away. Arya also roamed up and actually has dissuaded the Herald spawn.
I think they have there. Maybe they're trying to find a higher value Herald at some point in the near future. Perhaps if they can try and use it on the mid lane, something which does allow you to get more deep vision in preparation for dragons and barons and heralds. Oh my.
It does allow V3 a chance to get onto this play in the bottom side, and that's a nice little bit of relief for this bot lane for Archer and Reyna.
It is. And another thing which is worth noting is that obviously this game with the cleanse and a lot of melee carries, Aphelios has maybe more space to work with this game as compared to the last one against the Poke Varus, which can just chunk you out from half a screen away, amongst other things that were in that game 2 matchup from the side of CGA. Maybe we can see a return to... Oh, okay, that's actually pretty good from Nap. That means that it won't be a full turret taken because the damage which Herald does scale off the HP which the Herald has. health. You hit the eye, it takes away half of its HP, which means the top tower does not go down just yet.
He's taking lots of damage though, and 4 plates have been claimed by Paz, so he's in a fairly happy space. 25 CS in the lead as well. This Aatrox is going to be an utter nightmare for this Drake fight, which will be coming up just around the corner. I'm going to guess Paz recalls, prepares to teleport back in with all the items going to come in. Chains of Corruption do just miss, but Yoshi's still got the Glacial Prison. Does land a decent piercing arrow though, does Gango, which chunks down Archer.
That is nerves of steel from Archer there.
First turret.
There's no flash, no cleanse needed from Archer. Holds his nerve, gets out with just the ultimate trade. Thought maybe the Glacial Prison would come in as well, but it wasn't actually committed by Yoshi, knowing that after the first skill shot landed, there was no point with the cleanse and flash still available.
Yeah, I'm not going to burn it. Boogie goes over this pit, has got a second tunnel available if he needs to get out again. Of course, those things go on cooldown. Archer did try and find some damage here. Reyna is in trouble, has now had to go golden, but he's now in the middle of nowhere. That Glacial Prison does miss because Reyna flashes, but he's taking a lot of damage. That Infernal does a lot of work into Grendel in return. No one dead, but the dragon will be started by V3.
Okay, so Ardir is on this side of the map now, and there's no teleport for the Gangplank. He's not pushing up into tower. Numbers advantage for V3. This will be their second dragon, and now it's game on. Victory condition for V3 in this do-or-die third match of the second round of LJL playoffs.
Yeah, and it's going to be a Mountain Rift as well, so prepare yourselves for many tanky members should the Soul come about. But V3 out to a very commanding early lead.
They are, and they've managed to get some pressure around the mid lane as well, which will help them kind of get some vision coming up for this Herald fight in the next minute as well.
Black Cleaver on Aatrox as well. He did get that right.
Black Cleaver available on Aatrox. I think Ace will be able to recall and finish his first 20% CDR. No, he doesn't quite get the Ludens, which he's building towards, but has the Sorcerer's Boots either way. It's worth noting that, you know, when you are in the lead and have yourself a gold lead, your resets do just tend to be better. If another team wants to match your items, they have to wait another couple of minutes before they can really go back to base and buy the same amount of stats coming up to these fights. With the Herald coming up in 20 seconds, the issue might be Force and CJ will have to fight with less stats available to them.
Yes, but we do also have to keep an eye on ultimates that would be available should they go for it straight away. Cannon Barrage currently on cooldown, so is Glacial Prison, but Moonlight Vigil and the Depth Charge not available for V3. And Aria, with Proto Belt and Fiendish Codex for that additional CDR, is in a pretty scary space. Don't go in on that hook, though, to CGA.
I don't think that would have been a good idea. There was a lot of members available from V3.
I completely agree.
Moonlight Visual not available yet for Archer, but he's nearly there. You don't really want to take a risk.
Herald started though.
Yeah, they're leashing it out as well. They're pulling it out of the pit. Means that CJ will have to commit pretty heavily into the river to go get the positioning here.
They don't want to give this one up completely free, but I think they're going to be too late either way. That smite was early, but the hook line was anything but. All the damage coming through from all the damage there, and Paz takes a fair chunk and returns. That's a big Moonlight Vigil. He can get the auto reset, but it's not enough to kill off Gango. And CGA limp away. No deaths, but Herald over to Boogie.
So Flash and Moonlight Vigil down for Archer now. There's a big chunk though.
Herald summoned straight away.
I think, it's going to take the mid lane turret. And this is something which V3 struggled to do in the last 2 games. They will very easily take this mid lane turret. It's 16 minutes into this game.
And they're going to continue to shove forwards. They've got a Herald with some health left. They've got health bars on CGA, which are low enough to allow them to get a second charge and 2/3 of the hit points on that mid-tier 2.
Well, and with all of the gold picked up from these fights, we're probably going to start seeing the first items be completed by the carries of V3 now after this next reset. They'll be very ready for the next fight, but there will be nothing to fight for until the next dragon comes up. It's going to be a Mountain Rift after that Infernal and the Ocean were taken by V3. Mountain being one of those slightly more defensive things, but in these very bursty fights that will particularly affect Silas as he's trying and solo out someone like the Syndra if V3 do get their hands on that soul.
I'm beginning to worry that there ain't no mountain high enough for Gango to find somewhere to survive at this point.
Stop that right now. you get out of here with that crap.
Come on, man! Give me that one!
Oh, man.
Okay, Ace got to be careful about being dived, though. Thresh and Sweshwani turning up around here. And Ace is standing very far up towards us. I don't think he wants to be there. He's going to have to use it, though. Oh, Ace, nobody. Oh, Grendel coming from one angle. Cannon Barrage from the other. He's used the flash. Has used the cleanse as well. That's a great double stun. has to problem solve his way out of a fairly tricky situation, but does survive.
So actually, the only big cooldown committed there was the Cannon Barrage. So that is a Cannon Barrage for a flash cleanse. The cleanse was needless from Ace. Tried to do that. Captain Jack, assuming that hook would land.
It did look like it was going to.
It was pretty close, but he didn't have faith in his sidesteps, which did carry him out far enough. He hasn't died this game just yet on the Syndra, and as you were talking, he didn't die in the other game he had in playoffs as well, going 7 kills and a number of assists as well.
Really 2 assists. He got most of the kills.
He did get most of the kills. He took the lion's share. We're going to see a tower trade bot lane out of turret for CGA, getting some gold into the pockets of these 3 masked members, and then on the other side it's going to be Paz and Boogie wailing on the top lane turret. So it's not actually a trade, as I was saying, but it is a good trade.
Damage as yet.
No, but now if you look at these 2 inner turrets on the mid lane and top lane turrets, they are now very low HP. If there is one opening in the macro of CGA, that could be another turret going down. There's 30 seconds on the Mountain Dragon, then they will have to fight without the Cannon Barrage once more. There's also no Triforce available from Nap just yet.
But there is a stopwatch available for Arya, which is a terrifying prospect.
We've seen what he can do with
this man
that.
with playmaking tools does things that are just a touch absurd.
Yep.
Boogie, though, out of Warrior Enchant, is not far off a Black Cleaver. Aatrox doesn't have the Death Dance, but is very close. So if they can hold off, I don't think they're going to want to.
No, they'll just want to fight right now.
Over. Sejuani's here, but Thresh, Gangplank, and Gango are not. They're going to be a little late to this party. It means V3 get positioning on this Drake. They're looking for an engage early on. It's Yoshi and Arya off to one side, and the rest of CJ towards the top side. They are backing out for now of V3.
I just think the positioning there, just the geography of the map here makes it quite hard for V3 to kind of stand corralled into the Dragon Pit with the likes of the Chains of Corruption and the Glacial Prison available for CGA. You don't necessarily want to walk into that amount of CC from CGA, just because being locked in place against this team does mean they still have a lot of damage. They've just completed a Blade. They've had a Blade the Ruin King on the Varus for a while. They have a Triforce now completed on the...
Good dash.
Okay, maybe we should stop talking. There's a lot of posturing happening here. This Skull Crab is going to go the way of CGA, all things said and done.
And CGA are ready to fight. They may be down a certain amount of gold. They may be down in terms of the Drakes, but they are feeling this is their time to fight. Archer's not here. Gango's not here, though. He's up in the mid lane. They're going to be a little bit late. Yoshi's going to try and fight. He's got a depth charge. Does Arya. Keep an eye on that. Boogie does get that. It's the 3rd Drake for them. They're at Mountain Soul Point.
They're in the pit.
Now comes the fight, and they are in the pit. Arya's in behind. He's waiting for people to come across. Missed the abscond of Doug. But that's a Syndra stun. Has not used in loose PA, but no one said. Grendel, so desperately low, survives. Gango gets some kills. There's 2 kills actually for V3 right now, and Arya is around and dead is what that is. Boogie going forward, gets the Void Rush, gets a double himself. Gango does trade back. Yoshi's on big HP bar, but not for long because the Sejuani has another stun combo. Ace looking to find an Ace, and Gango throws a piercing out that misses. It's a 3-for-2. And actually, V3 got the Drake as well, so it's Mountain Soul Point and a victory in the fight for V3.
Welcome to LJL Fight Club, and that's all we're going to say about that, because we don't talk about Fight Club.
Here we go, let's look at this. Let's look at this replay.
Okay,
and the impromptu MMA arena that we had here, UFC fight.
Mentioning the build-up to this, being trapped in the pit against this amount of CC and a lot of the AoE damage coming out of CGA, normally a very bad thing, but the hook misses. There's not a large amount of people diving in. The Moonlight Visual hits the Gravitum onto a couple of people as well, and then a triple scatter the weak from Ace gets so much work done. The Ignite committed onto Nap takes him down too, and just Silas doesn't get enough damage at this point in the game. And the turnaround, pretty huge. I don't know whether Boogie is worth him kind of going in and trading his life at this point just for the support, trading his summoner as well, but it is another kill on the board. Now 3-1 on this Rek'Sai, having a lot, but we were talking about Rek'Sai being more consistent, being a bit more easy to, particularly against the likes of so many exhaust and peel tools, and he's having a much better game thus far.
Yeah, and I also want to say Arya missed his abducting into the pit, so had to flash in, and we've just talked about how the Silas's damage, and Silas damage is so loaded into the second part of that E now. If he got that, I think Archer would have died.
Maybe. Yeah,
and that would have been a massive difference.
I mean, at the end of that fight, V3 had a lot of low health bars, but, you know, this is the magic of a best of 5, the magic of a competitive esport experience, right? The numbers don't work out in the play. Sometimes they do work out. In game V3. There is match point for CGA, but V3 have been given a lifeline, and Yoshi is going to be caught out again.
The Arctic Assault. Can't get onto the lantern, though. He's getting knocked up, taking all the damage. I think he's just gone down. Reina is taking a lot of damage in return. TP in from Paz, but that will be it. Well caught out, and a nice block with the ward to stop the lantern take. We've seen that before. Uzi still has nightmares about it. You can get past it, but you have to zoom right the way in.
You do. It depends how many wards are on it, actually, though.
Oh, really? You can just overward it.
Sometimes you can put like 3-4 wards onto it, and there's nothing you can do. But anyway, Yoshi being caught out quite a lot this game. We called him out as actually having a very good performance on his Trundle and the Jarvan in the first 2 games. He's struggling to make things stick in this landing for the 3rd game, and that is something which CJ might want to be worried about, because Boogie is looking more confident. Yoshi is being exploited a bit more. This game is not over. There is only a 4,000 gold lead, which is still surmountable. It is not at the level where the game is over, and there are scaling options for the side of CJ in the likes of the Gangplank, who might just be dived.
Yeah, the scaling might be just to another trip to the Death Realm. He's got knocked up. I don't think he's got away. No out, no flash, no hope. He goes down, so Paz picks up his 2nd kill of the game. And V3 doing very well in this game at the moment. Also worth pointing out, Gango has got 2 items complete. That will be a strong point for CGA if they can find a fight where he can stack that up.
He has himself the exhaust as well, right? So if one of these diving champions like Aatrox or Rek'Sai make his way onto him, that exhaust could end up buying him a lot of time to stack up that Rage Blade and get the turnaround damage. Obviously, when you stack up that Guinzu's Rage passive, every other hit applies on hit effects twice. That also includes lifesteal. It means that you can survive.
Teleport
teleport from the Silas.
They're coming in behind. V3 now in a difficult position. How many
options
do they have? The Abscond lands this time. Shut down onto Boogie.
That's a TP in from Gangplank here.
There he is. He's thinking about coming across. Doesn't have much way across, and there's no blast plant, so he's stuck where he is.
That's a bit of a duff TP. So,
well, he's here for the Mountain Drake at least.
He will be here. It will be up in 35 seconds. Boogie will be alive for it if CGA collects, not CGA. If V3 collect it, it will be the Mountain Soul for them. We talked about how the Mountain Soul can be very important when it comes down to these burst trades. When you're trying to solo out that first target, like we just saw there on Boogie, it can give you that extra 100 or 200 HP to play around, which means that the kill combo sometimes doesn't register.
All right. Trinity Force is complete for Gangplank. Double items in for Silas with his Zhonya's on top of his
CJ will look to rush
We have talked about the Varus of Rage, but they are ready to go, but so are V3. Double items on Aphelios. They're in behind. They're not necessarily in position, but they do have a ward in the back of the pit, which is currently being blown. So Paz has gone over, but he's here alone right now. Yoshi needs to get this, and he does secure it. That's going to prevent the Manisaur going
45.
Before it continues. Grendel got a flay in the backline. Redemption comes down. Look at the damage from Arya. Archer is on HP. Nap gets in the backline. He shuts him down with that trial by fire, and the arrow doesn't quite claim it, but he's on no HP. Nap is trying to get barrels, and Arya is healing. Dodges with the abscond. Is going to go in with an abduct. Doesn't get to use it. Has to use his stopwatch. I think he's still going to die. He's got a death dance, but doesn't get up. Gets knocked up, knocked down, and CGA find a team fight win.
The cardinal sin of League of Legends, don't fight 4v5s. Boogie had died, and maybe it would have been best if they just let that dragon go the way of CGA. They lose a lot of materials to fight the next combat with in the form of summoners, and of course they lose a lot of gold in the form of kills and shutdowns too. They might even lose themselves the mid lane outer turret, but it won't be on this wave.
And check out those dancing shoes on Arya. He absconds his way out of all the CC, abducts his way into all the damage. Did you see that
heal from the Kingslayer?
Oh, it was pretty obscene.
I genuinely think because of that Conqueror, that would have been about 1,000 damage heal. I wanted to just go back and watch that. So, as we said, Boogie would not be here in time for the fight. It was close run things. So, Paz was trying to buy time, pops the World Ender, tries to get the steal, but Yoshi is on the smite. There was no smite from V3. And the fight just kind of goes a bit mad on the backside. Archer takes so much damage from Arya on the backside here. Nap also flashes in to get there. Boogie and Paz have a decent turnaround at the back end. Look at that heal! It's 1,000 heal off of the Kingslayer. Ace at least escapes on the back end of this. Nap takes the wrong path at the end of this fight. But it's at the cost of Paz at the end of this too, who'd had a mighty effort to try and outlast that team fight, but he's just not tanky enough at this point in the game. Not quite raid boss.
That brings the gold lead only to 2,500, maybe 3 for V3, and the Mountain Soul currently stalled. V3 still in a good position, don't get me wrong. They have got options. They've got a very strong Aphelios. They've got a very strong Aatrox. This Syndra's got 2 items and a Morellonomicon to potentially cut down on Silas. pretty insane healing.
Yeah.
But 401 on this Varus is Gango with
he's
3
huge.
items complete. Silas, even with his healing reduced, is still pretty strong
stun.
as Yoshi gets
GPL.
caught out. The GPL is down. They're going to try and find a Chains of Corruption, which does land onto Reyna, who's now in a bit of a tricky spot. Has to burn that.
They're going deep for this.
Very deep. They're going to continue the redemption.
Oh, he's dead!
Archer does all the damage, and Boogie's fighting his way to the backline. This is going to be a massive fight for V3. Gango is shut down by Boogie, and the fight continues. Arya is not alive. Neither are the rest of CJs. They're being run down. They went too deep, too hard onto this Nautilus, who turned around with a depth charge, and Paz with the World Ender running can't quite get on top of Sejuani.
This is going to be an inhib. It might even be an inhib and a Baron. I don't know if they have the cojones
and
to
they've got a
the game.
minion wave.
They do have a minion wave, and
There's
they
no
have
wave clear.
5 people alive. There is no wave clear. You're right. With 20 seconds in, I think this will be the game.
We'll find out. Arya's got 15. Can Yoshi hold on for that long? He's got to just hold these towers. Can he get to the minion wave? If he can clear it out, there might be enough. It's so damn low. He's going to go down. Arya's up in 5 seconds. It's going to be
This
so
is going to be close.
damn close. The Nexus is exposed. They're going to start attacking. I think they've done it. This is GG. V3 pull it back.
V3 will not go quietly into the night. They will not go with 3-0. They pick up their first win of this series. So, bringing it back to Mass 1 here, we have ourselves a contested series.
All right. That's the V3 I was expecting at the beginning of this game. I was expecting a little bit more, and now they're showing up. V3 looked very comfortable. Boogie specifically very much seemed to be in their element. Playing the Rek'Sai, not the Echo. Who knew? But I mean, why not at the end of the day? Really impressive game. CGA definitely gave them a run for their money at some points, but I was really excited by that game. That was really back and forth to a degree. Almost thought that they might lose it, but that last team fight was just a chef's kiss at every moment.
Yeah, so I think that this game revolved around a couple of different things. It's Ace having an impact on the game. I think the Syndra came out massive. We saw that first. We saw that kind of like the whole fight, the LJL fight club in the Mountain Dragon Pit. The 3-man scout of the week ended up turning that fight massively in favor of V3, and of course the very effective Rek'Sai pick as well. Not going for the high damage AP pet junglers was Boogie. The Rek'Sai ended up doing a lot of backline diving, getting onto Gango as we saw in that game-winning fight as well. A good turnaround from V3. Let's see if they can stick it in the game 4.
And I also just want to call out, I think it is the solo laners of V3 returning to comfort. It's Aatrox of Paz, which he looked really good on, had a great laning phase versus Snap on that GP, who was perhaps showing why we haven't seen so much GP in recent weeks. And Syndra was just so much more lane presence for Ace, and he got to roam a bit more. Yes, Arya managed to pull back in the CS lead after an early deficit, but Ace just was in the right place at the right time, found some very clutch stuns, and just looked a lot more comfortable on that champion.
Is it fair to say jungle death? Because
I
that
think
was the
in
first
this
game that Yoshi didn't look that good.
He got caught out for first blood, right?
He got caught out 3-4 times in the river. That was that time There was that time around the Dragon Pit when he was clearing out wards. There was the time around the Herald Baron Pit as well. He got caught out there. I'm trying to remember if there was another time as well. Boogie didn't have a flawless game as well. No. He tried quite hard to get some kills, like committing flashes to kill very low HP supports and then trading his life anyway. Had that one time he was bursted out on that near the bot lane in a turret fit at CJ as well.
He was.
Still not firing on all cylinders. Of course, saying that this is the V3 expected to see, I don't think it's still 100% yet. It's towards that. I'm glad that V3 have kind of found their stride a little bit more. There is still a long way to go if they want to take this series, though.
I mean, improved communication is also just felt like it was coming through. They just seem to gel better as a team, V3, frankly, in this game. I don't know.
And I think that's comfort. Comfort. I think that's what Sam was saying.
Comfort, being 0-2 down, comfort. Sure, whatever. I guess that may be more
comfort picks.
No, comfort picks.
Yeah, I know.
These are compositions which these are champions which they've fallen back to time and time again. We talked about Paz and how he had only played 4 champions. Aatrox is his most played. Most of the LJL top lanes have played more set than Aatrox. Paz is the guy who's really been going back to that demon in the top lane. And then Ace, he's not picked as much Syndra this split as we would have liked from him, because he's looked very effective on that champion.
Has been banned a fair bit.
It has been banned a fair bit as well. It was a very high priority pick earlier into the split. So maybe they have some answers to some of these laners. We saw that Arya's Silas, not infallible.
Nope.
We saw that Ace actually had some good laning phase, good team fights. There are ways into this series for V3 now.
Yeah. And I just also think for V3, the fact that they were quicker to the rotations. It wasn't CGA making the plays and V3 being a little later to them. It was the fact they got on Yoshi first before Gango and Grendel managed to make their way entirely into the river. They were the ones at the Dragon Pits first. It was that kind of first step, the priority and the proactivity that we have called V3 as requiring when they look good to come out for this one. And it turned up in this game again as well.
Well, this series is definitely getting exciting. We're guaranteed at least one more game. Still match point for CGA.
Yes,
However, we could still be in store for 2 more games. I think we all know what we want. We want the full 5-game series.
Hell
we want to see everything. And it'll be interesting to see how V3 would be able to recover that. We're going to go on a very quick break over here, as well as the official cast is as well. And we will be back very momentarily. Thank you so much for watching.